Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what has been happening in Kenya. Now, Kenya has been trending on the news, and I'm sure some of you have come across this, not for good reasons, all right? The citizens of Kenya have been protesting against the 2024 financial bill, which proposes heavy taxation on Kenyans, and as it is, Kenyans already face heavy taxation burdens.
Yeah, so most citizens of Kenya were calling for the bill to be rejected altogether and not amended, and even some Kenyans have now started calling for President Ruto to resign as president.
So what got us to this state? So let's just watch what's happening in this video and what it is exactly that Kenyans are demanding of President Ruto. Let's hear Kenyans themselves speak, and then we come back and talk about it.
A short response to William Ruto. Mr. William Ruto, Kenyans have rejected you. They have rejected you in their millions. They have rejected you from Mandera to Mombasa, from Kisumu to Kakamega to Busia to Turkana. They have rejected you in Nairobi and all the cities and towns and villages of Kenya. This is not a small thing, and it is not something that has happened before. Kenyans of all generations, all ages, have rejected you, William Ruto. It is not just the Gen Zs. It is not just the millennials. It is not the so-called criminals that, quote, infiltrated the protests. The protests that have been taking place in Kenya, from coast to coast, from north to south, east to west, have been peaceful and have been led by well-educated, articulate, focused, and disciplined Kenyans. They made a very simple demand that you should have met. They say, withdraw Finance Bill 2024. You could have done that last week. You ought not to have tabled it in Parliament, because this is an alien, anti-people bill, which was drafted by the IMF and the World Bank in Washington. It's not our bill. Kenyans are taxed to death. You've turned Kenya into an outlier state that kneels before the Western world. You thought you could loot Kenya, just like your predecessors have done. And we have said no. Listen to us. And we are not begging, we are making demands. And we are saying, if you don't withdraw Finance Bill 2024, and if you don't resign, we will remove you from power.
Young Kenyans battling through water cannons, clashes, and tear gas, wishing for their rally cries to be heard.
We don't have jobs. We are young. We are depending on our parents. Our parents are suffering in this Kenya.
It's not clear why they're getting tear gas. They're peaceful, as they keep saying they're peaceful. They're not doing anything, but they keep getting tear gassed and creating all this.
The chokehold of Kenya's escalating living costs has been felt for decades, with some protesters saying they are starting what their parents didn't.
I'm here because I want to protest, because our parents didn't have the guts to stand before and protest against Ruto. But what he's doing is bad governance, and we're here to protest and show him that if our parents can't do it, we can do it.
On Tuesday, dozens of demonstrators descended outside Kenya's parliament, forcing the government in Nairobi to amend the bill. Some of the suspensions include a 16% value-added tax on bread and a 2.5% tax on motor vehicles. But some citizens were unhappy with the changes, calling for it to be scrapped completely. In response to the unrest, police arrested hundreds, signaling outrage to human rights groups who said their right to protest has been violated.
Is this your first time protesting?
No, we were here on Tuesday. They were doing the exact same thing. They still arrested us.
We will do it again and
again and again. We come in peace. We are not fighting. We are very respectful.
Okay.
With tensions mounting and protests showing no sign of slowing down, Gen Z has proven they have risen like never before.
9 people family have allegedly been taken between 1 and 4 a.m. Jana. These are just a few of them. There's also Harriet and some other people. Shad has not been released. I don't know if you saw that video with Shad where he was grabbed and thrown into a car like he was some Al-Shabaab. Then next thing, they actually went and took his car and drove it off somewhere. It's like Nabi forgets he was recently in ICC. It wasn't a long time ago. And he forgets the world and the West and the people he's trying to please hate messy puppets. This should be the reason you come to the streets today, even if you were not planning on it, because today it's them, tomorrow it could be you or someone you love.
To every Kenyan who showed up yesterday, you are brave, you are helping this country get to a better place, you are peaceful, and that matters. The police has shot people in Githurai. The police shot people in Githurai yesterday night. They shot people in Juja. They shot people in front of the parliament building. They shot people asking for a better future, asking for a better life in front of the parliament building. They shot medics, they shot journalists. No one is safe. I don't have a joke today because this government is the biggest joke. This country is part of their punchline. And that hurts to say because I get up every day frustrated and I try to make a little bit of light. But there's no light when it's overshadowed by people who don't want to listen to Kenyans who are suffering. Shipping Kenyans to other countries is not any form of liberation, and that should be understood. Our work, our futures, our lives are dependent on the changes we make today, and Kenyans peacefully showed up yesterday in 35 out of 47 counties to say that they're tired, they're overwhelmed, and they would just like to be listened to, and they were shot at. And the military was deployed on us against the constitution because the National Assembly has to approve that. Kenyans deserve better, and we're not saying we deserve better because of anything else than it's owed to us. We show up every day to build this country that has no faith, no remorse in us. The person who's in charge of this country was on TV, and for 10 minutes he didn't acknowledge any of the people who were shot. The words that came out of his mouth were treasonous criminals. Those words imply there's no space for us to be listened to. There's no empathy in our pain because listening does not involve shooting Kenyans. Kenyans were shot in Githurai, Kenyans were shot in Juja. No one is safe. No one is safe. And even to the MPs who are quiet and making a mockery of our deaths, when you ran away in ambulances, when doctors were shot and journalists were shot and regular Kenyans were shot, I don't think there's anything you can say. Don't even get up, try to speak into a microphone. You failed Kenyans at the moment when they needed you. You failed continuously every single day. You've let people down. And people asking every single government official to stop looting from Kenyans, to work for Kenyans. Those are the people that are shot. Those are the people that are called goons. There was a sniper in the parliament buildings. I don't know if there's any way to say this, but this government continually proves to be a joke. They make a mockery of us in our deaths. They make a mockery of us while we try to get by. And I don't think that is something that we can forget.
Welcome back, guys. So, due to YouTube policy, there are some images we can't really show because, as you heard in the video, the only thing the protesters had when they were going for their protest when it was being organized, right? And these were, majority of them were Gen Zs and millennials who took to the streets. The only thing they had was, they were not armed, an handkerchief, a bottle of water, flags, ID cards.
Kenyan flags, ID cards, and
whistles, right? And they wanted to communicate their message, but they wanted to do it peacefully. So out of all this, you start to ask yourself, at what point did the police, because they've been accused of brutalities and casualties have come out of this, at what point did the police feel threatened enough to the point where they started killing, the young kids who are out protesting?
Yeah, and when the march to parliament was happening, actually information was being brought forth that there was a sniper placed at the parliament building who was aiming at unarmed kids.
And guys, there's some gory images we can't really show you, but if you want to see the real pictures of what is happening in Kenya currently, we encourage you to go follow us on our Instagram accounts, because that is where we really get to update people on what's going on. I think we'll leave it in the description box below, but even if you Google, you will see the real picture of what is happening. And I want to thank our international friends, because the international community has really come through for Kenyans, and you guys are really encouraging Kenyans to keep on moving forward, and it's those voices, when you think of giving up, it's those voices that you remember when they remind you that you're fighting for something greater other than what you're being given in your country and what is worth fighting for. Those are the kind of things people remember, and they continue to go back in the streets and continue to fight for their rights, right?
Right. And for those who are following the stories that were coming from Kenya, you'll notice that most especially yesterday from 9 p.m. There was no real news coming from Kenya. Like, everything was quiet, and that was because internet was shut down, and it's alleged that police officers went to neighborhoods and they were unaliving people in those neighborhoods. So far 200 plus deaths have been reported
in an area called Githurai here in Nairobi.
Right.
So you guys, netizens here in Kenya are asking exactly what is it in that bill that they're trying so hard to pass or to hide from Kenyans that is making them unalive people so that the bill can be passed.
Right. And also, just a few minutes ago, the Kenyan president came out and he was he did decline to sign the bill, and he sent it back to parliament, and this was after parliament was dissolved, and it will resume next month on the 20-something, So parliament has been dissolved, and he has sent the bill back to parliament, and Kenyans were saying they didn't want that bill amended. They wanted it rejected totally. So what the Kenyan constitution states that if the president is unable to sign the bill, after 21 days, that bill automatically becomes law.
Yeah, so even at this point, Kenyans are still feeling like their president is playing mind games on them, because it's like you're taking one route to tell Kenyans that you've had them, but on the real sense, there's something some underhanded tactics that are being used so that they can make sure that this bill has been passed. And the painful thing is that, when this revolution was starting, people were being encouraged, right? Gen Zs were encouraging each other to talk to their area MPs, members of parliament, and tell them to recall their votes, right? And let me tell you, people really gave themselves up, and even the numbers of these members of parliament were leaked, and people were sending out their stories, right?
Right. So in general, what this situation has really shown Kenyans is who their members of parliament really truly are.
Yeah, because they don't care. And others were even the others who are giving interviews and saying, because there are other members of parliament who were nominated by and they said they weren't voted in, they were nominated. So those who were nominated went on further to give interviews and say that they were grateful not to the people but the president, because he's the one who gave them jobs, and they were going to vote as a show of thanks towards the president. And you're like, if you're supposed to be voting in a bill, are you not supposed to be voting it because it's for the good of the people, not as a thank you towards the president?
Right. So guys, that is what has been happening for a better part of this week. Now Kenyans are planning to march to State House tomorrow. I don't know if that plan is still on, but we're just waiting to see how all this will play out. But we'll keep you updated with the situation that's on the ground.
Yeah, and I'll just leave you with this message. Most of the Africans who are watching this platform, and for my fellow Kenyans, the international community, we thank you so much for, you know, being with us during these hard times. For our fellow Kenyans and Africans, somebody once encouraged us when they reached out and they said, you know, much as revolutions are happening and people are revolting against the government, what they said is that blood, there has to be blood, and there has to be casualties for freedom to be gotten, right? So having this in mind, it's really truly sad that there are people who've lost their lives in this struggle, and their families right now that are grieving. And the saddest part is that yesterday when the president got on was addressing the nation, he came out and said that he labeled these people who lost their lives as criminals. And one thing I can assure you is that these people are not criminals. They were peaceful protesters. Even us were amongst the people who went for to the streets yesterday, and what we saw there was a group of Kenyans who are tired of the old regime, who are tired of all the corruptions that has been going on in the country, who are tired of puppet leaders who want to allow foreign powers to control the country. Those were people who are tired and they want their voices to be heard. There are people who wanted to speak directly to the IMF. People are asking if these debts, if our members of parliament and our government are using the excessive debts that Kenya has to pay back as an excuse to pay to raise taxes. People were arguing, why don't they stop taking the money, taking so much money, because they continue borrowing, and they've not paid the old one from the previous government. And we are not seeing where this money is going. People are not seeing how the money is working. And if the money is supposed to pay back the debts, and the president hops on one flight to another, books private jets that are really taking a lot of taxpayers' monies. The private jet, it was said that it costed 241 million per hour, and the president was flying for 9 hours. So you look at how are you spending the money that you're collecting from the people, right? What are the kind of expenses that are not necessary that the government can cut back on? All right, that is what the Kenyan citizens are saying. So guys, let us know what you think about this episode. Truly, this is really sad. I don't even feel like I'm myself and I'm doing these reaction videos, because it is said that if your arm is not feeling okay, the whole body ails, right? And that is literally how we are feeling right now, because we are just in the struggle to survive.
So guys, let us know what you think about this episode. If you're new to this channel, kindly consider subscribing, and we'll see you on our next episode.